So this mid-sized model game, which we have noticed some issues. So the first thing is that the computer paddle moves, but you'll never be able to win because we set the computer paddle to move to the Y of the ball. So notice it always hits the Y of the ball, so it will never miss. And so what I did here was I added a little bit of a weight of 0.3 seconds to try and get it to be a little bit slower so that there's a chance that the paddle would not be in the perfect spot every single time. So it's just a tiny little weight of 0.3 of a second to kind of do that. It also kind of moves jerkily because it's teleporting to the X and the Y. So the suggestion is to try a glide instead. So if I go grab a glide, but I want the glide to XY. And I'm going to put this at 223, and then I'm going to put my Y in there, put my weight underneath that, toss that. Now, notice it actually looks like there's a player there. So there we go. And so notice it moves nice and smooth now. We aren't getting that herky-jerky action, which is a big deal. We don't want it to do that. Now, the ball is super slow, so let's speed it up. How can we speed it to a normal speed? So it's currently, let's click our ball at 3 steps. Let's try 10. So see how that's much quicker. And notice that there we go, the paddle is like way off now, right? So the computer paddle is super slow. And I'm betting if we go to the computer paddle, it's because we have the glide for 1 second. So let's try putting that glide at 0.3 seconds so that it moves faster. But it still has a little bit of a delay, so it's still a challenge, but it is possible, as you can see on the screen, it is possible to win because it does move really quickly now. You might actually see that it's moving a little too quickly, so maybe back to 0.5. So it's a half a second behind the ball. You can adjust that and play with it until you get the right number. I actually like 0.3, so I'm leaving it. So that's 0.3, but notice we still have a problem when the ball hits the paddles. It doesn't always, sometimes it gets caught. And let's see if I can do it. Yeah, that one didn't do it. But sometimes the paddle, it'll get caught on the paddle. And that will cause it to sort of spin funkily. I'm pretty sure that's a word. So the idea here is that we have it turning a specific amount when it touches the paddle. If we try to make that a random amount, we might get better action out of the game. So in this case, that's under ball. And so notice we have it turning 20 degrees. So instead of turning 20 degrees, we probably want to do some sort of a number or a random number between two things. So if you click on the next slide, the getting it caught, you could replace the degree turn with something between 210 and 90. And I'm not sure if it will matter in what order I do those, so I'm actually going to try and do them backwards. So I'm going to go to Operations, pick random number, and I'm going to put 210 and 90 degrees. And I'm going to put that in there so that it doesn't go back and forth perfectly every single time it hits the paddle. See? And, oh, that's a problem right there. But that's a different problem. So right now, it is possible. Oh, see, that's part of it's being weird. So let's see, it does get caught. And so what we might end up doing is if I told it to turn and then because what it's happening is it's turning into the paddle instead of turning away from the paddle. So what I might have to do is tell it to move after it does the turn is to give it like I don't know, move 3 steps or something, and see if that keeps it from catching like that. Nope. So I might have to make that a bigger number, maybe, to keep it from doing that. Because notice it seems to do fine on this one, but it doesn't like the computer one. Yeah, it doesn't like the computer one. So I'm thinking what I might have to do is change the direction of its turn for the computer one. Oh, see, it doesn't like this one either, because every once in a while it's turning in the wrong direction. And so what I might have to do is to pull this and then pull this out. And because I want to turn, this would work best because it's turning away from the paddle. If I'm going to say, we'll try 90 and 210 and see if that will work best when it's hitting the player paddle. And so if I get the player paddle, whoops, working correctly then, so notice, let's see if we can get it to get stuck on the player paddle again. Nope, see, it's not catching anymore because the player paddle is now aiming it in a specific direction, and it's aiming it away from the paddle itself, so it's not catching. And so we would really need to just duplicate this and put it right there. Notice I put it outside of the other if, but still inside of the, so I'm going to pull that, and if it touches the computer paddle, then I want to go the other direction, right? Because I want to go away from that paddle. So I'm going to put this in here, and because it's going the other way, I'm going to try that 210 and 90. And put that there, and we're going to hit stop, start, and see what happens. So there, let's see if we can get it caught again. So far it looks like you can win against the computer, but the computer really should be a harder competition. So notice we're not getting it to catch anymore. And it's because we separated those two paddles and now gave them their own direction, which works much better than having them bounce both in the same direction. So that fixes our last one, which is the getting caught problem. So hopefully that gets you caught up and now your stuff doesn't catch.